I carried it longer than I knew how to admit, not because I was proud, not because I was strong, maybe because I was afraid that if I said it out loud, the whole world would put its hands on something that still needed gentleness. Have you ever loved something so quietly that even your own heart whispered around it? Have you ever wanted to be seen, but feared that being truly seen would ask too much of you? I did. I wanted love to feel simple. I wanted courage to arrive like daylight through an open window. But sometimes the deepest feelings do not come loudly. Sometimes they sit beside you in silence, like a mirror turned toward your soul, showing you everything you hoped was beautiful and everything you were still trying to hide. So stay with me for a little while, because maybe secret love is not always about hiding from the world. Maybe sometimes it is about protecting something pure until the heart is finally ready to speak. And maybe tonight, the question is not whether love was real, but whether you are ready to hear what silence was trying to say. I used to think vulnerability meant breaking open in front of someone and hoping they would not leave. I used to think it meant confessing everything at once, placing my whole heart in another person's hands and trusting them not to drop it. But life taught me something softer, something quieter. Vulnerability is not always a storm. Sometimes it is the small breath before honesty. Sometimes it is looking at someone and knowing they can see past the version of you that smiles, works, keeps moving, keeps surviving. And you made me feel that, not in a way that frightened me at first, not loudly, not suddenly. It was more like standing in a room I had known my whole life and noticing for the first time that there was a window, a little light, a way out. Have you ever met someone who did not demand your truth, but somehow made pretending feel unnecessary? That is what unsettled me. That is what stayed. I had learned how to be composed. I had learned how to carry pain without letting it spill into every conversation. I had learned the quiet art of being okay when I was not okay. Maybe you know that art too. Maybe you have smiled through rooms where no one asked the right question. Maybe you have been loved for your strength, but rarely held in your softness. And maybe that is why I am speaking to you like this now, because I know what it means to be tired of performing peace. But here's the truth I've never told anyone. The love I carried was not only about wanting you, it was about what wanting you revealed in me. It showed me where I was guarded. It showed me where I had built walls and called them wisdom. It showed me how many times I had mistaken distance for dignity, silence for safety, patience for fear. Love became a mirror, and in that mirror, I did not only see your face, I saw my own hesitation, my own longing, my own unfinished healing. That is the strange thing about real connection. It does not flatter us forever. At first, it feels warm. It feels like home. It feels like sitting beside a fire after years of walking through cold weather. But then slowly it begins to ask deeper questions. Are you willing to be honest? Are you willing to stay when your instinct is to disappear? Are you willing to let someone know you, not just admire you from a distance? I wanted to say yes. I wanted to be the kind of man who could walk toward love with open hands and a steady heart. I wanted to tell you that I was not afraid. I wanted to say, here I am, and mean it without hiding behind calmness. But vulnerability has a way of finding the little boy inside the man, the part that still remembers loss, the part that still wonders whether tenderness is safe. Have you felt this too? That quiet fear that if someone sees too much, they might love you less? I did not fear love because it was weak. I feared it because it was real. There is a difference. Weak love begs to be noticed. Real love listens. Weak love wants to possess. Real love wants to understand. Weak love rushes to be named before it has learned how to breathe. Real love can sit in silence and still remain alive. And for a long time, that is what I did. I sat with it. I carried it. I let it live in the private rooms of my heart, not because I wanted to deny it, but because I knew that anything sacred deserves care before exposure. Look at me when I say this. Some feelings are not secrets because they are dishonest. Some feelings are secrets because they are still becoming holy inside us. They are still teaching us how to be gentle. They are still showing us the difference between desire and devotion. Desire says, I want you now. Devotion says, I want to be worthy of the truth we might become. And I think for a long time, I was standing somewhere between the two, learning how to stop reaching from loneliness and start loving from wholeness. That was not easy. There were moments when I wanted to speak just to release the weight of it. Moments when silence felt like a locked door, and my heart kept knocking from the inside. I would tell myself, say it, just say it. But then another part of me would ask, are you ready to be seen after the words leave your mouth? Are you ready for love to become real enough to change you? Because words are powerful. Once spoken, they do not simply reveal a feeling, they build a bridge, and a bridge asks you to cross. I was not always ready to cross. That is the confession beneath the confession. I was afraid of the bridge. I was afraid of stepping out from the familiar shadow of myself and meeting you in the open, not because I doubted you, because I doubted whether I knew how to receive something gentle without flinching. When life teaches you to brace for impact, peace can feel suspicious. When you have survived by being careful, tenderness can feel like unfamiliar ground. And yet you were there, not as a demand, not as a rescue, just as a presence, and presence changes everything. A promise can sound beautiful and still fade, but presence is different. Presence arrives quietly and says, I am here. It does not need an audience. It does not need applause. It does not need to turn love into a performance. It simply stays close enough for the heart to stop defending itself. That is where everything I thought I knew changed. I began to understand that vulnerability is not as the same as exposure. Exposure is being seen without safety. Vulnerability is being seen where there is tenderness. Exposure can feel like standing under a harsh light. Vulnerability feels like candlelight, soft, warm, human. It does not shame what it reveals. It does not punish the trembling. It makes room for it. And with you, even in silence, I felt the possibility of that room, a room where I did not have to be larger than my pain, a room where ambition did not have to erase tenderness, a room where love could be both a shelter and a horizon, because I have dreams too. Deep ones, restless ones. I have the want to build, to reach, to become, to give my life to something meaningful. But what is the point of touching the sky if no one knows where your heart rests? What is the becoming strong if you cannot be soft with the one person who makes your soul exhale? Maybe that is what scared me most. You made me want a life that was not only impressive, but honest. You made me want a kind of success that had a heartbeat, a home inside it, a hand to hold in the quiet after the world stopped asking for more. And that is dangerous, isn't it? Not dangerous like harm, dangerous like truth, dangerous like finally admitting that the thing you thought you could live without may be the very thing your soul has been walking toward. I know you understand this. You may not say it out loud. You may keep your own, private, rooms locked with, grace, but I can feel it in the way some, hearts listen. You know what it means to long for love and still protect yourself from it. You know what it means to want closeness, but fear the cost of being known. You know what it means to wonder, will I still be chosen when I stop performing? Will I still be held when I stop being easy to understand? Before you go, hear this one thing. The right love does not ask you to disappear into someone else's dream. It does not ask you to shrink, sparkle, prove, chase, or become less complicated so you can be easier to hold. The right love gives you back to yourself, becomes a mirror, yes, but not a cruel one. A loving mirror, one that says, here is your fear, but here's your courage, too. Here is your, wound, but here is your light. Here's the part of you that ran, and here's the part still willing to stay. That is what I wanted to tell you. That my silence was not empty. It was full of becoming, full of learning, full of prayers I did not know how to name, full of moments where I imagined saying the truth and then stepped back, because I wanted the truth to be clean, when it reached you, not perfect, clean. There is a difference. Perfect love pretends it has no fear. Clean love, admits the fear and still chooses tenderness. And I am admitting it now. I was afraid to be seen too deeply. I was afraid that if you looked into me, you would find rooms I had not finished healing. I was afraid that love would ask me to put down the armor that had helped me survive. But I was also afraid of the opposite. I was afraid that if I never spoke, the most honest thing in me would remain a ghost moving quietly through my life, touching everything, belonging nowhere. So here I am, not with a grand speech, not with fireworks, not with the kind of confession that tries to conquer the room. I am here with something smaller and more honest. I loved quietly because I was learning how to love safely. I loved privately because I was learning how to become brave. I loved in silence because something in me knew that when the heart finally speaks, it should not be trying to impress. It should be trying to tell the truth. And the truth is this: you were never just someone I wanted. You were someone, who made me want to be more real, more present, more capable of standing in the open without running from my own reflection. You reminded me that love is not only the dream, Love is the courage that makes the dream real. It requires patience. It requires presence. It requires us to show up, not only when we are certain, not only when we are beautiful, not only when we know exactly what to say. It asks us to show up trembling. And maybe that is where love begins, not in confidence, but in honesty, not in having every answer, but in finally refusing to lie to your own heart. Have you felt this too? That quiet moment when something inside you whispers, I cannot keep pretending this does not matter. That is not weakness. That is the soul knocking. That is truth asking for a door. I do not know what love becomes after it is spoken. None of us really do. It becomes a home. Maybe it becomes a lesson. Maybe it becomes a path we walk together slowly, but carefully with reverence. But I know this much. A love that reveals your truth has already changed you. A love that makes you softer without making you smaller has already blessed you. A love that teaches you to trust your own heart again is never wasted. So if you are listening to me now and some part of you feels seen, let yourself breathe. You do not have to rush your heart. You do not have to punish yourself for needing time. You do not have to call your tenderness foolish just because it has been quiet. Sometimes the heart whispers before it sings. Sometimes love kneels before it stands. Sometimes the most powerful confession begins with one simple admission. I was afraid, and still I loved. I learned that trust does not arrive like thunder. It comes like a key turning softly in a door you stop believing would open. For a long time, I thought love had to announce itself with certainty, with bold words, with promises large enough to silence every doubt inside me. But the older I became, the more I understood that promises can be beautiful and still be empty if they are not carried by presence. You taught me that without trying. You did not need to convince me with speeches. You made me notice the quiet way safety feels when someone does not rush your heart. I think trust begins in the smallest places, in the pauses between words, in the way someone listens without preparing to defend themselves, in the way they remember what hurts you without using it against you. Have you ever felt that the difference between being heard and being handled? I had been handled before. I had been admired, misunderstood, praised, and even wanted. But being emotionally safe with someone is different. It feels like setting down a heavy bag you forgot you were carrying. It feels like the nervous system finally whispering, maybe here, maybe with this person. I do not have to brace. And that was what frightened me, because safety can be unfamiliar when you have spent years surviving behind composure. I knew how to stand alone. I knew how to be dependable. I knew how to keep my pain organized, folded neatly where no one would trip over it. But trust asks for something else. It asks me to let someone see the room before I have cleaned it. It asks me to admit that I am not always calm, not always certain, not always strong in the way people imagine. Trust says, let me meet you where you are, not only where you look polished. This is where everything I thought I knew changed, because I realized love's not just proven by intensity alone. Intensity can burn bright and still leave you cold afterward. Real trust is quieter. It is the hand that stays gentle when the truth comes out uneven. It is the voice that does not punish you for needing time. It is the person who does not turn your vulnerability into a weapon when fear makes you difficult to understand. And I began to see that what I wanted was not drama, not chase, not a love that needed constant proof. I wanted peace that still had passion. With you, the idea of trust became less like a leap and more like a bridge built one plank at a time. A look, a patient silence, a moment where nothing had to be solved immediately. That is how emotional safety grows, not from one perfect confession, but from 1,000 quiet signals that say, I am not here to harm you. I am not here to own you. I am not here to make you smaller so I can feel secure. I am here and my presence will not disappear the moment your truth becomes inconvenient. Maybe that is the kind of love we all secretly hunger for, the kind that does not need us to perform ease. We want someone who can sit beside the complicated parts of us without trying to rename them as weakness. We want someone who understands that healing is not a straight road, that sometimes the heart reaches forward and pulls back in the same breath. Have you done that too? Have you wanted closeness, then stepped away because closeness felt too revealing? I have, and I used to judge myself for it until I understood that fear is often just love standing at the edge of old pain. But here is the truth I have carried quietly. Trust is not built by never being afraid. Trust is built by telling the truth while fear is still in the room. It is built when I say, I want to stay, even though staying makes me visible. It is built when you say, I can hear you, even if I do not have every answer. It is built when two people stop treating love like a test and begin treating it like a home under construction. A home needs foundation. A home needs patience. A home needs hands willing to repair. I wanted to trust you in that way, not because you were perfect, but because something in your presence made honesty feel possible. That is rare. We live in a world that often rewards distance, coolness, and control, but the heart knows better. The heart does not want to be impressed forever. It wants to be recognized. It wants to come home without removing its scars at the door. When I looked inward, I saw that my deepest longing was not simply to love you, but to be true beside you, to breathe without pretending I was made of stone. Before you go, let me hear this one thing. The right love will never demand access to every hidden room before earning the right to enter. Uh, it will wait at the doorway with respect. It will understand that trust is sacred because it is chosen, not forced. That kind of love does not kick down walls and call it passion. It knocks softly. It waits. It listens for the courage on the other side. And when the door opens, even a little, it does not rush in. It steps carefully because it knows a heart is not a place to conquer. So when I speak of my secret love, I am not speaking of something childish or careless. I'm speaking of the slow education of my own heart. I am speaking of learning that presence matters more than promises, that consistency can be more romantic than grand gestures, that being safe with someone is one of the deepest forms of intimacy. I am speaking to you because maybe you have been waiting for a love that does not make you beg for gentleness. Maybe you have needed to know that trust can still be built softly, honestly, one brave moment at a time. Intimacy taught me that closeness is not always made of touch. Sometimes it is made of relief. It is the quiet relief of not having to translate your soul every time you breathe. Uh, with you, I imagined a nearness where neither of us had to perform, where silence did not feel like rejection and softness did not need a costume. Have you ever wanted someone to know you without making you feel examined? I have. I wanted that kind of room with you, a room where truth could sit between us, unafraid, unpolished, still welcome, and gently understood uh, uh, by both hearts. For so long, I thought intimacy meant revealing everything, but now I think it means being safe enough to reveal what is real slowly. Uh, there is a tenderness in not being rushed. There is dignity in being allowed to arrive one layer at a time. I did not want a love that pulled secrets from me like proof. I wanted a love that made honesty feel like breathing. That is different, isn't it? To be invaded, not invaded, to be held, not handled, to be seen, not searched. Real intimacy does not demand the key. It becomes the place where keys appear. But here's the truth I have rarely said aloud. I was afraid of being known in ordinary ways, not admired from far away, not praised for what I could endure, not loved for the parts that looks strong under light, but known in the morning of my spirit when I was quiet, uncertain, human. That kind of intimacy unsettled me because it left no elegant hiding place. It asked me to believe that I could be unfinished and still not abandoned. It asked me to stop confusing mystery with protection and to trust that being understood would not make me less worthy of love. You see, there is a kind of loneliness that survives even inside connection. It happens when people love your image, but never meet your interior life. They know your smile, your habits, your strength, but not the tender weather beneath it all. I had lived with that distance for so long that I almost called it normal. Then the thought of you changed the shape of the silence. Suddenly, I wanted someone beside me who could hear what I did not say, not to fix me, not to rescue me, just to recognize the quiet places where I was still becoming. This is where everything softened inside me. I began to understand that intimacy is not a performance of perfect closeness. It is the courage to be unguarded without becoming careless. It is two people learning the language of each other's pauses. It is knowing when to speak, when to listen, when to reach, and when to simply stay. Have you felt how powerful that can be? A presence that does not push, a gaze that does not judge, a heart that does not make you earn warmth by being easier than you are. That is the closeness I kept imagining. And maybe I kept it secret because I wanted to protect that imagined tenderness from the noise of the world. The world likes to name things quickly. It likes labels, proof, explanations, and spectacle. But intimacy is shy in the beginning. It needs quiet. It needs patience. It needs a place where two people performing long enough, to feel what's actually there. I did not want our truth thrown into bright rooms before it learned to breathe. I wanted it to grow like a candle in sheltered hands. Small, there's perhaps, but warm enough to guide us. Before you go deeper with me, hear this one thing. The deepest intimacy now is not being needed by someone in a desperate way. It is being trusted by someone in a peaceful way. Need can cling. Fear can confuse possession with devotion, but trust creates space. Trust says, I choose you and I still honor your freedom. I wanted to love you like that, not as a cage, um, not as a claim, as a home with open windows, uh, as a place where you could return to yourself and still find me there, steady, gentle, unafraid of your light. I think every heart longs for that, even the hearts that pretend they do not. We want someone who can sit beside our contradictions without turning them into a courtroom. Someone who understands that we can be brave and scared, hopeful and guarded, loving and unsure, all in the same breath. That is not confusion. That is humanity. When I thought of being close to you, I did not imagine perfection. I imagined honesty. I imagined laughter after difficult conversations. I imagined the quiet mercy of being accepted before all the healing was complete. Isn't that what love should feel like? Yet intimacy also asks for responsibility. It asks us not to enter another heart carelessly. It asks us to be gentle with what is revealed. If someone gives you their fear, you do not mock it. If someone gives you their past, you do not use it as a blade. If someone gives you their tenderness, you do not make them regret being soft. I knew that if I ever came close to you, I wanted to come with clean hands, not perfect hands, but honest ones. Hands willing to hold, repair, protect, and release control when love needed breathing room. So this is my confession about intimacy. I did not only want to be near you, I wanted to be real with you. I wanted the kind of closeness where two souls could stop explaining their existence and simply rest, where love felt less like a performance and more like coming home after years of standing outside your own door. If these words reach the quiet voice inside you, let them remind you that you deserve a love where you can exhale. You deserve to be known gently, chosen calmly, and held without pretending. Um, Timing was the lesson I just resisted most, because patience can feel like punishment when the heart is already awake. I wanted love to move when I felt it moving inside me. I wanted the door to open because my longing had finally become brave enough to knock. But real love is not always rushed by desire. Sometimes it waits not to deny us, but to deepen us. Have you ever felt something true and still known it was not ready to be touched? I have, and that knowing humbled me. It taught me that sacred things often arrive slowly, carrying a wisdom my hunger could not yet understand. For a long time, I confused waiting with weakness. I thought if I did not act quickly, I was betraying the feeling. I thought love had to prove itself by moving forward, by claiming, by speaking before silence grew too heavy. But the heart is not a machine. It is more like a garden. You can plant too early, water too much, pull at the roots, and still call it devotion, but nothing healthy grows from force. Love needs warmth. It needs space. It needs the mercy of time to become strong enough to survive being seen. This is where everything I thought I knew changed. I began to understand that timing is not the enemy of love. It is one of love's quiet protectors. Desire asks, why not now? Patience asks, are you ready to care for what you are asking to receive? That question followed me and walked beside me in the quiet hours when I wanted to tell you everything. It sat with me when my chest ached from words I had not spoken. It reminded me that wanting someone is powerful, but being prepared to love them well is something deeper. I wanted to be ready. I wanted my heart to be a safe place before I invited you into it. That was not fear pretending to be wisdom, at least not always. Sometimes it was reverence. Sometimes it was the part of me that knew I could not offer you a shelter if I was still learning how not to turn my own storms into walls. Have you ever paused, not because you cared too little, but because you cared too much to arrive carelessly? Uh, that is the part people misunderstand. Waiting can be an act of love, but here is the truth I had to face. Patience can also become a hiding place if we are not honest. There were moments when I called my hesitation timing, when really it was fear wearing a calm face. I had to look in the mirror of that love and ask myself, am I protecting something sacred or am I protecting myself from being changed? That question did not accuse me. It awakened me. It made me see that real patience is alive, not frozen. It prepares, it listens, it grows. It does not simply stand still and call itself noble. The more I sat with that truth, the more I understood that love cannot be forced into the hovis of our urgency. Some connections need time because both hearts are still becoming fluent in their own honesty. Some people meet before they are ready to hold what they recognize. The recognition is real, but the hands are trembling. The mirror shows the truth, but the soul still needs courage to stand before it. I think that is why certain love feels destined and difficult at the same time. It is not confused. It is asking us to mature. Before you go, hear this one thing. Waiting does not mean your heart is forgotten. It does not mean the feeling is small. Sometimes waiting is the quiet room where love learns its own name. It is where longing becomes devotion. It is where fantasy loses its impatience and becomes care. I had to learn that love is not proven by how quickly it arrives. It is proven by how gently it remains, how honestly it grows, how deeply it respects the person it hopes to meet. Uh, Presence matters, but timing teaches presence how to stay. I think of quiet love as a river under winter ice. To the world, it may look still, it may look absent, but beneath the surface, something is moving. Faithful to a direction it does not need to announce. That is how I carried you inside me, not loudly, not perfectly, not without doubt, but with a current I could not deny. There were days I wondered whether silence was costing me too much. Then something in me whispered that what is meant to be spoken should be spoken cleanly, not desperately, not to escape loneliness. And maybe that is the deepest test of timing. Can I love without demanding that love relieve every ache immediately? Can I honor you as a soul, not just as the answer to my emptiness? Can I wait in a way that does not become distance, but preparation? These questions made me softer. They made me less possessive. They taught me that patience is not passive when the heart is awake. It is an active tenderness. It is choosing not to rush the flower open. It is trusting that what blooms by force rarely carries peace. So this is my confession about timing and patience. I did not wait because love was uncertain. I waited because I was learning how to become honest enough for it. I waited because some truths deserve a heart that can hold them without trembling into control. I waited because I wanted the love between us, even in possibility, to be more than desire. I wanted it to be safe, steady, and worthy of the mirror it had become. If your heart has waited too, let it know. Waiting can still be holy when it leads you toward courage. Love became a mirror before it became a confession. I did not understand that at first. I thought I was looking toward you, carrying a quiet feeling, protecting it from noise, waiting for the right season. But the longer I held it, the more it turned me back toward myself. Have you ever loved someone and suddenly seen your own soul more clearly? That is what happened to me. Your presence, even from a distance, reflected the parts of me I had hidden so carefully. The longing was not only for you, it was for the man I became beside your light. At first, the mirror was gentle. It showed me tenderness I thought life had already taken from me. It showed me that I could still hope without feeling foolish, still ache without becoming bitter, still imagine a home inside another heartbeat. But then the mirror grew honest. It showed me my guardedness, my habit of stepping back when something mattered too much, my talent for making silence look like wisdom. I wanted to call it patience. Sometimes it was. Sometimes it was fear dressed beautifully, standing still, so no one would notice how badly it wanted to be held by you. This is where everything I thought I knew changed. I realized love does not only reveal what we desire, it reveals what we avoid. It shows us the rooms we keep locked, the questions we answer with work, the wounds we cover with strength. You became that quiet reflection for me, not because you demanded anything, uh, but because something about you made pretending feel unnecessary. You ever met someone who made your own excuses sound tired? Someone whose existence gently asked, "Are you really peaceful? Or have you just become skilled at surviving without asking anyone to stay close enough?" I saw my wounds more clearly through the thought of loving you. I saw the places where um, disappointment had taught me to lower my voice, where loss had taught me to expect endings, where old pain had whispered that tenderness was dangerous. The mirror did not shame me for these things. It simply showed them. That is the difference between real love and illusion. Illusion flatters you until you fall asleep. Real love wakes you softly, puts a hand on your shoulder and says, "Look, here, not to hurt yourself, but to understand why you have been running so long. But here is the truth I have carried quietly. I was not only afraid that you would see my brokenness, I was afraid that you would see my beauty too." That may sound strange, but being seen in your light can feel dangerous when you have learned to live small inside your own heart. Um, what if you saw the tenderness I tried to hide? What if you believed in the gentleness I kept behind my ribs? What if you made me admit that I was still capable of loving deeply after all the reasons I had collected not to. The mirror of love does not let us remain strangers to ourselves. It reflects the dream and the wound, the courage and the retreat, the hand reaching out and the other hand holding it back. When I looked into that mirror, I saw a man who wanted to be chosen, but also wanted to be free from the fear of needing anyone. I saw someone who believed in devotion, yet still flinched at dependence. Have you felt that contradiction too? Wanting to belong and fearing the doorway, wanting to be held and wondering whether surrender might cost too much. Before you go deeper with me, hear this one thing. The right love does not make the mirror cruel, does not throw your fear at you like an accusation. It lets you look without losing dignity. It says, yes, this is your wound, but it is not your whole name. Yes, this is your hesitation, but it is not the end of your courage. I wanted to love in a way that did that for you too. I wanted my presence to feel like a mirror you could trust, one that reflected your softness without making you apologize. Maybe that is why quiet love can become so powerful. It gives us time to recognize ourselves before we are asked to reveal ourselves. It lets the heart practice honesty in private. I would sit with the feeling and ask what it was showing me. Was it longing or loneliness? Was it a devotion or desire? Was it truth or a beautiful story I was telling myself because I was tired of being alone? Those questions mattered. They kept the love clean. They taught me that a sacred feeling should not be rushed past reflection, because reflection is part of reverence. And when the mirror finally showed me what was deepest, it was not fear, it was tenderness. Under every hesitation, under every guarded silence, under every careful distance, there was still a simple human wish to be known without being harmed. I think that wish lives in you too. I think it lives in every heart that has had to become strong too early. We do not want perfection. We want safety. We want someone who can see the unfinished places and not turn away. We want love that whispers, I say you, and I am still here. So this is my confession, about the mirror. Loving you, even quietly, made me more honest with myself. It showed me what I feared, what I hoped for, what I had not healed, and what I still believed was possible. It taught me that love is not only the person standing before us, but the truth rising within us because of them. If my heart was silent, it was still learning. If my love was hidden, it was still reflecting light. And if you have ever been someone's mirror, may you know how sacred that truly is. Have is shared purposes is where love stops asking only what it can receive and begins asking what it can build. With you, the secret did not feel like a fantasy I wanted to escape into. It felt like a doorway toward becoming more whole. Um, have you ever sensed that someone could walk beside your dream without trying to own it? That thought moved me deeply. I did not want love to be a beautiful, full distraction. I wanted it to become a quiet partnership with roots beneath it. For a long time, I separated love from purpose, as if the heart and the horizon belonged to different lives. I thought ambition needed solitude and tenderness, needed surrender. But real love does not ask us to abandon the work our soul came here to do. Real love steadies the hand. It reminds us why the work matters. It turns achievement into offering and effort into devotion. With you, I imagined not a smaller life, but a truer one, balanced by warmth. This is where everything I thought I knew changed. I began to see that love is not only two people looking at each other. Sometimes it is two people looking in the same direction with different gifts, different wounds, and the same quiet willingness to keep walking. That kind of connection does not erase individuality. It protects it. It says, become fully yourself, and I will not be threatened by your becoming. Have you ever longed for someone who blessed your growth instead of fearing it? But here is the truth I have rarely said aloud. I did not only want to be loved by you. I wanted to become useful beside you, not useful like a tool, not useful like a man proving his worth through sacrifice, but like a shelter in rain, like a steady lamp on a hard road, like hands that know when to hold and when to let you rise. Shared purpose made love feel less like possession and more like service. I think the deepest romance is not found only in beautiful words. It is found in the ordinary courage of building something honest together. It is in asking, how can we bring more peace into this room? How can we protect what is tender between us? How can we make each other braver without making each other harder? Those questions matter. They turn love from a feeling into a practice. They make the heart responsible without making it heavy. They give devotion daily breath. With you, purpose felt gentle, not grand. It was not about standing above the world, shining for anyone watching. It was about standing beside each other when no one was watching, choosing integrity in private, um, patience when pride wanted victory, choosing presence while fear wanted distance. That is the kind of partnership I believe in now. Not two perfect souls merging into one voice, but two honest souls learning harmony. Love as home, trust as foundation, balance as the music between them. Before you go further, hear this one thing. A love with purpose will not drain your spirit to prove its importance, will not make you trade your calling for comfort or your softness for approval. It will ask better questions. Are we healing each other or repeating old wounds? Are we expanding our wounds or hiding? Are we becoming kinder, clearer, stronger, more alive? The right love does not steal your path. It walks with reverence beside it and sometimes lights the way ahead. I had to learn that shared purpose begins with shared safety. Two people cannot build a future on emotional guessing. They need a place where truth can be spoken without explosions, where mistakes can be repaired without humiliation, where silence can be understood without becoming punishment. That is why trust mattered before intimacy and intimacy before purpose. The foundation had to be honest. Otherwise, even the most beautiful dream would lean. And I wanted nothing with you that leaned on fear, pretending to be love. Maybe that is why quiet love felt so sacred to me. It was not trying to impress the world with its volume. It was asking whether it could survive the small faithful things. But it's our tired evenings, uncertain seasons, honest conversations, unfinished healing, and the simple work of showing up. Because purpose is not always a mountain. Sometimes purpose is washing the cup, answering gently, forgiving slowly, protecting peace, and remembering that the person beside you is not an obstacle to your life, but part of its meaning. And if I am honest, the thought of that frightened and healed me at once. Um, I had known how to chase goals. I had known how to endure lonely roads, but shared purpose asked me to believe that love could strengthen the journey instead of interrupting it. It asked me to trust that needing someone beside me did not make me weak. It made me human. Have you felt that too? The ache of wanting partnership without losing yourself. I think we all do. The mirror showed me that I did not want a love built only on emotion. Emotion is beautiful, but it can rise and fall, like weather. I wanted something with roots, something that could hold through changing light. Shared purpose gives love those roots. It says we are not only here to feel, we are here to become. We are here to heal what we can, give what we can, and make a small sanctuary in a world that often forgets gentleness. So this is my confession about purpose. I carried this love quietly because it made me imagine a life where ambition had tenderness inside it, where devotion had direction, where two hearts could become braver together. I did not want to own you. I wanted you. I wanted to honor what you were becoming while letting your presence call me higher too. If your heart has waited for that kind of partnership, please believe it is not too much to ask. Real love can still boil. Growth did not begin when I became fearless. It began when I stopped treating fear as proof that love was impossible. I used to believe strength meant holding everything together so tightly that nothing tender could escape. But with you in my heart, even quietly, I began to understand strength differently. It was not armor. It was the courage to remove armor in the presence of honesty. Have you ever discovered that the bravest part of you was not the part that endured pain, but the part still willing to be gentle after it? For a long time, I thought vulnerability would make me smaller. I thought if I admitted how deeply I felt, something in me would lose its shape. Maybe that is what pain teaches us when it is not held properly. It teaches us to confuse openness with danger, softness with surrender, love with losing control. But real growth asked me to question that lesson. It asked me to look at the places where I was guarded and ask, is this protection or is this a prison I built so carefully that I began calling it peace? This is where everything I thought I knew changed. I realized that honesty does not weaken love, dishonesty does. Silence can protect something sacred for a season, but if silence becomes a home, the heart starts forgetting how to speak. I did not want that. I did not want my love to become a museum of unsaid things, beautiful, but unreachable. I wanted it to become living truth, and living truth breathes. It risks. It grows through conversations that make the hands tremble, through moments when pride steps aside and the soul finally tells the story it has carried. But here's the truth I have had to confess to myself. Growth is not graceful every time. Sometimes it looks like stumbling toward the person you care about with words that do not arrive perfectly. Sometimes it looks like saying, I am scared and staying anyway. Sometimes it looks like admitting that you want closeness, even when the old wound tells you to disappear before anyone can leave. Have you felt that? The strange ache of becoming braver while still feeling afraid? That ache is not failure. It is the sound of the heart learning a new language. I began to see that love met with honesty becomes a teacher, not a trap. It teaches patience without making excuses for avoidance. It teaches courage without demanding performance. It teaches humility because no one loves well by pretending they have nothing left to learn. With you, even in the quiet, I wanted to become a man who could listen better, apologize sooner, speak more clearly, and protect tenderness instead of hiding behind distance. That desire changed me. It did not make me perfect. It made me willing. And willingness is where real transformation begins. Before you go further, hear this one thing. You do not have to be fully healed to be worthy of real love. You only have to be honest enough to stop turning your wounds into weapons. I had to learn that too. There's a difference between needing gentleness and demanding that another person carry all your pain. Growth lives in that difference. It says, I will let you see me, but I will also take responsibility for what I bring. I will not punish you for the storms that existed before you arrived. That kind of honesty made vulnerability feel less like falling and more like standing upright without disguise. It taught me that the heart does not become strong by hardening. It becomes strong by staying open with discernment. Open does not mean careless. Soft does not mean helpless. Loving does not mean forgetting yourself. The deeper I understood that, the more I stopped fearing tenderness. I began to see softness as a form of wisdom, a quiet power that refuses to become cruel just because life has been painful. Is there anything stronger than a heart that can still bless? And maybe that is what I wanted most, to love without becoming afraid of my own depth. To stop apologizing inwardly for feeling with my whole chest. Stop measuring my worth by how little I needed. Because need, when honest and respectful, is not weakness. It is part of being human. I needed connection. I needed trust. I needed the kind of love that could meet me in truth and not ask me to become less alive. Admitting that was not easy, but it was freeing. It opened a window inside me I had kept locked. The mirror showed me that growth is not a destination where fear disappears. It is a daily choice to answer fear with honesty instead of control. It is choosing conversation over assumption, repair over pride, presence over escape. It is waking up and deciding that the love you carry deserves a braver version of you. I wanted to become that version, not as a performance for you, but as a truth for myself. Because real love does not only ask, will you choose me? It also asks, will you become someone who can choose with care? So this is my confession about growth. Loving you quietly did not keep me still. It moved me inward, then forward. It made me face the fear behind my silence and the tenderness beneath my strength. It taught me that vulnerability, when met with honesty, becomes a doorway, not a wound. If your heart has ever been afraid to open again, let these words sit beside you gently. You are not weak for wanting love that feels safe. Uh, you are growing every time you choose truth over fear, softness over armor, and courage over hiding. Meaning arrived when I stopped asking love to prove itself through noise and started listening to what remained in the quiet. After everything I carried, feared, protected, and slowly understood, I saw that secret love was never only about silence. It was about reverence. It was about learning that some feelings are not hidden because they are weak, but because they are too tender to survive careless hands. Um, have you felt that too? Um, the way something precious live inside you like a candle, asking not for attention, but for shelter until it is strong enough to glow. I want you to know that this confession was never meant to trap you inside my longing. Love that is real does not turn another person into a prison for its own hunger. It opens a window. It lets the air move. It blesses the beloved, even when the path is uncertain. That is what maturity taught me. To love you quietly was not to claim you in secret. It was to honor what your presence awakened in me and to let that awakening make me gentler, braver, more honest, and more willing to meet life with an open heart. But here is the truth I have saved for this moment. The deepest meaning of love is not always found in what becomes official, visible, or understood by others. Sometimes meaning lives in what love changes inside us. If knowing you taught me how to stop running from tenderness, then it mattered. If carrying you in my heart helped me become less afraid of being seen, then it mattered. If this quiet feeling reminded me that my soul was still capable of wonder, then it mattered. Love does not have to be loud to leave a holy mark. I look back now and I do not want to punish myself for the silence. I want to understand it with mercy. There were seasons when silence protected me. There were seasons when it challenged me. There were seasons when it became too heavy and I knew I had to let truth breathe. That is how the heart grows, not by getting everything right the first time, but by learning how to listen more deeply each time it trembles. Uh, have you ever forgiven yourself for the way you survived, before you knew how to open? Before you go, hear this one thing. You are not too much for the love that is meant to recognize you. Your depth is not a burden. Your softness is not a flaw. Your longing is not something to be ashamed of. Uh, the right love will not make you apologize for having a heart that feels deeply. It will not ask you to become colder so someone else can feel comfortable. It will meet you with steadiness. It will see the mirror of your soul and not turn away from what shines or what still aches. Maybe that is the blessing hidden inside every honest confession. It gives both hearts permission to stop pretending. It says, I was afraid and still I loved. It says, I waited and still I hoped. It says, I was wounded and still I believed something beautiful could find me. There is no shame in that. There is only humanity. There is only the ancient courage of a heart choosing not to become stone. And if you have been carrying your own secret tenderness, I hope you hold it tonight with compassion instead of judgment. I cannot promise that every love arrives the way we imagined. I cannot promise that every confession becomes a home, or that every longing finds the exact doorway it dreamed of. But I do believe this. Real love always reveals something true. It reveals where we still need healing. It reveals where we are ready to grow. It reveals the parts of us that still believe in beauty despite everything. And sometimes that revelation is itself a kind of grace, a quiet hand on the back saying, keep going. Your heart is not broken beyond recognition. So let this be my benediction for you, spoken softly as if we are sitting close enough for the world to fade. May you be loved in a way that feels safe to your nervous heart. May you be chosen without being chased, held without being owned, understood without being reduced. May the mirror of love show you your courage as clearly as it shows your wounds. May you never again confuse intensity with devotion, or distance with dignity, or silence with peace, when your soul is asking to be heard. And may you remember that love is not only something that happens to you, it is something that awakens through you. It lives in the patience you practice, the tenderness you protect, the truth you finally speak, and the courage you offer, even with trembling hands. I have carried this secret love like a prayer, and maybe the prayer was never only, let me be loved. Maybe it was also, let me become loving. Let me become honest. Wonderful day. Let me become safe enough for another heart to rest near mine without fear. So if these words have touched the quiet place inside you, take them as a blessing, not a demand. Let them remind you that you are still recognizable to real love. You are still worthy of gentleness. You are still allowed to hope without feeling foolish. Somewhere inside the silence, your heart has been learning the language of trust. Somewhere beneath the fear, your softness has survived. And when love comes close again, may you not shrink from being seen. May you breathe, open the door slowly, and know you were always worth finding.